For nearly 30 years, Jesus lived a life no one wrote songs about. No miracles, no crowds, no public mission. When people picture Jesus, they imagine sermons on hillsides, miracles that stop people in their tracks, and moments that changed history forever. But those moments make up only a small part of his life. Before any of that happened, before anyone followed him, before his name meant anything beyond a small village, Jesus lived quietly. He was born into a world ruled by Rome, in a land under occupation where most people struggled just to get by. He grew up in Nazareth, a tiny village in Galilee. Nazareth wasn't a holy place. It wasn't powerful or respected. In fact, it was so insignificant that later in his life, people would ask, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" This was not a place of opportunity. It was a place of routine. Stone houses clustered together, dirt roads, fields nearby. The sound of tools, animals, and voices carrying through the village. People woke up early because they had to. Survival depended on it. Families worked together, ate together, and lived close to one another. Jesus grew up surrounded by ordinary people, living ordinary lives. His family was not wealthy. Mary and Joseph were part of the working poor. When Jesus was born, they offered the sacrifice of the poor at the temple, which tells us they couldn't afford more. From a young age, Jesus would have known what it meant to live simply, to make do, to work with what you had. As he grew older, Jesus learned to trade. The Gospels describe him as a tekton. Today, that word is often translated as carpenter, but it meant more than that. A tekton was a builder, a craftsman, someone who worked with their hands. Wood, stone, tools, construction. Jesus likely learned this work from Joseph. As a boy, he would have watched, listened, and slowly begun to help, carrying materials, holding tools, learning how to measure, cut, shape, and build. This wasn't occasional work. It was daily labor. His hands would have been rough, his body strong from years of physical effort, his days filled with the rhythm of work, waking up at sunrise, laboring through the heat, resting when the sun went down. Before Jesus healed bodies, he used his own body to work. Before he spoke words that changed lives, he spent years in silence. Most of Jesus' life looked like everyone else's. He ate simple food, bread baked daily, olives and olive oil, lentils and vegetables, fish when it was available, wine diluted with water, meat only on special occasions. He knew hunger. He knew tiredness. He knew repetition. There were no miracles in these years. No recorded sermons. No crowds gathering to hear him speak. If you had passed Jesus on the road, you wouldn't have stopped. You wouldn't have known. He blended in. Every week, Jesus would have gone to the synagogue. He prayed. He listened to Scripture being read aloud. He learned the stories of his people. Moses, David, the prophets. He learned about suffering, exile, faithfulness, and hope. These stories shaped him slowly, deeply. Jesus celebrated Jewish festivals. He observed the Sabbath. He lived within the rhythms of faith that structured everyday life. Faith wasn't a performance. It was woven into everything. This is important because Jesus didn't suddenly appear as a spiritual figure out of nowhere. He was formed over time. His understanding of people, hardship, injustice, and patience came from living among them. Then there are the years we know almost nothing about. From childhood to adulthood, the Gospels are nearly silent. One brief story at age 12, and then nothing until he is around 30. That silence often makes people uncomfortable. We want details. We want stories. We want to know what he was doing. But in the culture of his time, this silence was normal. A man didn't begin teaching publicly until he was considered mature. Until then, His life wasn't seen as noteworthy. Yet those years were not empty. They were filled with work, with prayer, with waiting. Jesus lived under Roman rule. He saw soldiers in the streets. He saw taxes crushing families. He saw injustice normalized. He saw people pushed aside and forgotten. These experiences didn't come from a throne or a temple. They came from daily life. When Jesus later spoke about the poor, the hungry, the oppressed, he wasn't speaking in theory. He was speaking from memory. He had lived among them. For nearly 30 years, nothing seemed to happen. No visible progress, no public success, no recognition. By modern standards, it might even look like wasted time. Today, we measure lives by visibility, by accomplishments, by how early someone succeeds. We're taught that if nothing big is happening, something must be wrong. But Jesus' life challenges that idea completely. The majority of his life was quiet. The majority of his life was unseen. The majority of his life happened before anyone thought it mattered.